Hi, namaste. Thank you for sharing this space with me here and now. Today, I want to talk to you about Dharma and Karma and introduce you to what I feel are three key ingredients to attracting abundance in your life. Now, of course, talking about Dharma and Karma can take hours, days, if not lifetimes. So for the sake of keeping this concise, what I'd like to do is offer to you how I define these two terms. But before we do that, a little bit of little nugget of knowledge. So whenever we say in the West, we say the terms karma, dharma, what's interesting to note, and you probably already know this, is that the A at the end of every Sanskrit word is actually added for English. In other words, the actual Sanskrit or Hindi word is dharma for dharma, or karm for karma, or yog for yoga, or asan for asana. A little bit of interesting knowledge: when you're actually speaking, when we speak Hindi or Sanskrit, we don't actually pronounce the A. So it's a disclaimer, please forgive me if I do skip the A in some of these terms. My native language is Hindi, so sometimes it just comes out naturally. So if we try to define dharma to start, if you look up the definition on Google, you'll probably find something like the eternal or inherent nature of reality or something. So the inherent nature of something. So let's give you some examples. So I talk about the sun, for example. The sun's dharma, or its eternal or natural nature, is to, let's say, burn or to shine or to radiate heat or light. Another example would be a tree. So the inherent nature of a tree is to perhaps be rooted, be grounded, offer shade, offer fruits. Flower, let's say the inherent nature of a flower is to perhaps blossom, to provide visions of symmetry in nature, perhaps, of course, to be of service. You find that anything and everything's inherent nature, or dharma, is to be of service in some form. You wouldn't call a profession your life purpose or your dharma or your inherent nature. So as an example, being a dentist, it wouldn't be your dharma. It would perhaps be something like being of service to offer good health to people. So that's something that you will note. We dive into this much deeper in our workshops, but you will notice that everything has a purpose and a dharma, even a piece of rock, or and everything, if you dive deeper into it, their dharma is to be in service in some way or form. So I'll give you an example of dharma. So you walk into a room and you see an old lady struggling, carrying her suitcase. It would be our dharma to offer help. In that moment, it's our nature to do that, to be of service. If we, however, walk away from that point and leave the older lady to carry her own suitcase or luggage or whatever it is, then that is a karma, an action, which is what we'll get into next, that is not actually aligned with my purpose and nature. So good segue to the definition of karma. Interestingly, in the West, our narrative on the way we use the word is, in my opinion, inaccurate. We actually use the term karma from the perspective of a punishing God, with this notion or idea that there is a superior intelligence out there keeping a chart of all the good things you've done, kind of like a Santa Claus figure, all the good things you've done and all the bad things you've done, and they're giving you points or negative points for every bad thing you've done. Whereas the truth is, actually, the term karma actually literally means action. It's the acts that you take, is the action that I'm involved in is my karma. So for example, this action of me recording this video and sharing it with you is my karma. The question is whether my karma, this action that I'm doing, is actually aligned with my purpose, my dharma. And I would say my purpose, in my example, is to share knowledge, is to hold space for the world, for healing and wellness. And so me recording this video, it makes sense if I sit down and ponder about it for a few minutes. It makes sense. It's aligned with my life purpose. And so those are two key things that we want to establish is this definition of dharma and karma, and really the marriage between the two. And now that we've sort of established those two meanings, let me sort of introduce the three key ingredients that I talked to you about of attracting abundance. The first one would be to find your dharma, to find your purpose, to really dive deep into what your inherent nature is. The second thing would be to be mindful of the karma, your karma, the actions that you do. Make sure that your actions are actually aligned to your dharma. The karma is aligned to the dharma. And the third thing, which is probably one of the most important things, is to actually let go of an attachment to any kind of a result of this karma that you're doing, is to not be attached to a hope of it giving you abundance, but simply to actually focus your energies on your work. Be present in your work and just make sure that it's aligned to your dharma. And then really just watch abundance flow in through your life. And that's it. Just do this and remove the grasping energy you have, which is really the attachment to the consequence of all of the hard work that we do, and allow abundance to flow in. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Of course it's not. These are three simple steps that I've outlined, but really there's of course so many layers, so much self-study that's required to actually understand what it is that my purpose is, my dharma is, to really zero in on that. And this is the type of stuff that we talk about and dive into in our workshops. So I just wanted to introduce these concepts to you, and thank you so much for your time. As always, I love you. Namaste.